Alright, so I've been out. I just arrived back at the hotel. I've had an awful lot to drink. So I think it's just the perfect time to catch up with Lee Anderson's Real World. I've missed the last couple of episodes, with regret, really. It's my favourite programme. It's overtaken Homes Under the Hammer and, what else is shit? Loose Women. Yeah, good. So yeah, this is now my new favourite programme. And let's just get straight into it. No need to waffle. Let's go.
Good evening, you lovely people, and welcome to Tom Skinner's Real World with me, Tom Skinner.
What the hell is going on?
Now, tonight we've got some lovely guests. We've got the Conservative MP of Orpington, Gareth Bacon. We've also got journalist and contributing editor of Novara Media, Michael Walker, and the formidable GB News presenter, Nana Aoko. I got all the names wrong, sorry. And comedy legend, Duncan Norvell. And of course, we've got a cheeky chappy Tom Skinner.
What do you think you're playing at? This is my show. It's Lee Anderson's Real World. Clear off. Security, get him out. Look, it's my show. It's Lee Anderson's Real World. Time for the news.
I could cry. It's like something from a 1980s quiz show. In fact, I'm sure I recall seeing something similar, like Tony Green coming out to present Bullseye and Jim Bowen running on half-dressed saying, "What the hell are you doing? This is my show." I'm sure I recall something like that. Maybe it was 3-2-1 with that god-awful Tory Ted Rogers. It might have been that. One of the floozies came out to present the show and Ted Rogers dashed out pretending to be all pissed off about it. God, this is dire stuff. If that got a laugh out of anyone at home, they need to take a serious look at themselves. Oh boy, what a treat we have in store for you now. We are going to learn the origin story of 30p Lee. No, not the man himself. We all know he originates from under a rock in Ashfield. I'm talking about the name 30p Lee. There's a story behind it. Well, there's a story behind everything, I suppose. This story isn't particularly interesting. It's just extremely Tory, and he doesn't seem to realise how Tory it is. So let's have a listen.
30p Lee. Some people call me. Where did that come from? I'm going to tell you where it came from. Just a few years ago, I was out with the local food bank in Ashfield delivering ready-made meals to people in the community, people that needed our help. Me, along with a local chef, an award-winning chef. And as I was delivering these meals, the chef said to me that this is all wrong. What we need to be doing is teaching people how to cook from scratch. Get the fresh ingredients, the best ingredients, the cheapest ingredients, sometimes from the local supermarket, and make wholesome meals and batch cook them, which would reduce the cost for families that are struggling throughout Ashfield and the country. So he threw down a challenge. He told me that he could cook, or he could feed a family of 5 for 50 quid in a week. I said that was nonsense. I gave the challenge. I went to the local Aldi with 50 quid in a shopping list. I got 4 MPs in the kitchen, in the food bank, with people from the local college and the chef. And actually, we made 5 different recipes, and we made 172 meals, and that come to 50 quid. That worked out at 30 pence each. We then delivered the meals to the people throughout the community. So that's where the 30p tag comes from. Now, I did actually ask the Labour MPs in the chamber. I wrote to them, every single one, and said to them, come to my food bank. You're taking the mickey out of me over my 30p meals. Come to my food bank and we can show you how to prepare meals on a budget by batch cooking at a relative cheap cost, about 30 odd pence it was costing us. Not one single Labour MP took the challenge. They should hang their heads in shame, I think. I was trying to solve a problem. All they do is try and create problems. They're not interested in solutions. They're just interested in cheap political point scoring.
Oh, Lee, for the love of God. Imagine believing the solution to the problems impoverished families face is to get them to batch cook 172 meals at the cost of 30 pence each. Wow, what a life. What a life for these people. Jesus wept. You won't be surprised to learn that I feel the solution lies in lifting these people out of poverty, whereas in the mind of a Tory, their solution is It's all well and good for them to stay impoverished and to live off 30p meals. It's such a thoroughly deserved nickname. Moving on. Gary the Cabbie now, and this is a segment where Lee Anderson asks loaded questions to a cab driver with the IQ of a glass of water. So let's take a look at what Lee Anderson is telling Gary the Cabbie to be annoyed about this week.
But, I want this show to be about real people in the real world, and there's nobody more realer. Got pulled up for using that word last week. I don't give a monkeys, I'm going to use that word. There's nobody more realer than Gary the Cabbie. I'm going to join him next to talk.
Lee, you got pulled up because it's not a word. There's no such word as realer. Why would you double down and keep using it? It doesn't make any sense. People have pulled you up because it's not correct. Is this how you react when you're pulled up on something that's factually incorrect? You just go ahead anyway and keep spewing the same old drill? Oh, of course it is. You're Lee Anderson.
Talk about whether or not the BBC licence should be scrapped. So here we are again, the highlight of the week with Gary the Cabbie. He's full of common sense. I like Gary, he says it how it is. Gary, the BBC. Now, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s watching the BBC, it was a place of comfort, a place of trust. It was anti-Beeb. It was something where you went to and you felt safe watching the programmes, whether it be John Craven's Newsround, Blue Peter, even the news. But today it seems to have gone a little bit woke, a little bit political. What do you think about it, Gary?
Yeah, I agree. When I was a kid, you didn't have the choices that you've got now, but now they're politically pushing it to the way they want it. Certain presenters, it's getting old now.
No, you see things like, I used to love, I don't watch the BBC anymore, by the way. I turned my licence up quite a while back, and if they come knocking on my door, they'll get told where to go. But that's just me, that's my choice. But when you see people like Lineker on from Match of the Day on Twitter tweeting his political nonsense, I think to myself, my goodness, the great British public are paying your wages. What do you think?
These questions could not be more loaded. It's remarkable how he feeds him the answer and just wants him to regurgitate it in a different way, and then claims Gary the Cabbie's full of common sense. Epic interviewing technique.
Yeah, Gary Lineker, stick to the football. He's good at what he does. Yeah. Don't be telling us what his political views are. If he wants to tell his family, friends, by all means. I'm not interested in his views. I'm interested in his views on football, and that's it.
Yeah, we saw it through the pandemic. We saw the BBC, who I think, in my opinion, became the official opposition in this country. It wasn't the Labour Party holding us to account. It was the BBC. Do you think there's a role within the media to do that to government, or should that just be left in politics?
No, left in politics. No, it's not down to them to be doing that. Let the politicians and politics do that. They stick to putting what channels of what they've got to put on their telly.
What was that? What the hell was that for a sentence? We need to replay that, because that could well be the worst formed sentence I've ever heard.
And or should that just be left in politics?
No, left in politics. No, it's not down to them to be doing that. Let the politicians and politics do that. They stick to putting what channels of what they've got to put on their telly.
Anyone? God. Oh, I've got brain rot, I think, from watching this. God, it hurts.
And what about the licence fee, Gary? That grates with a lot of people in my community, in my constituency of Ashfield. Do you think it should be a subscription service, or do you think it should be, the TV licence should carry on?
Scrap it.
Scrap it?
Subscription. I have to pay for Sky, Apple. I have to pay for what I want to watch. Shouldn't have to pay for the BBC if I don't want to watch it. I'm not interested in watching EastEnders and things like that. So why should I have to pay for it?
Oh, that's brilliant, Gary. That's more common sense from Gary the Cabbie. But look, stay tuned. Joining me after the break is 18.
A fairly short contribution there from Gary the Cabbie this week. I think perhaps even Lee Anderson realised he wasn't making any sense. They should stick to what they do. Channels make channels. They do watch channels. Moving on. Right. So now we are going to listen to the story of when Duncan Norvell had a stroke. Now, I'm not going to take the piss out of a man who's had a stroke. It will become apparent as to why I'm playing this video towards the end of the story. Let's have a look.
At the time of your stroke, Duncan, was you alone? Did you have family there, support there?
I was alone, really, yes. Because my girlfriend at the time was a singer, and she was out working when I went to bed. All day I was scared of the light coming through the windows. It was giving me a permanent headache, and I've never had that before, so I thought, something wrong here. I'll get an early night, so I went to bed early. And my girlfriend rang me halfway through the night, and I got up to answer the phone at the time, and I just collapsed. My legs went from under me. I knew I'd had a stroke. I really did. And I managed to get down the stairs on my bum, and I got down there and I got to the telephone and I spoke to the operator, and I said, can you put me through to the local taxi firm? And I thought I'd get a taxi to the hospital because it was a Friday night in Blackpool, and it would be, to get an ambulance, I would never have got one. So I was going in a taxi, and the company, I knew them, and they said, Duncan, are you all right? I said, no, I've just had a stroke. Can you get a cab here as soon as you can? And the guy come and he helped me up off the floor, got me to the taxi, then took me straight down to the hospital. Another stroke after that one when I got there, Lee, and because I was in the hospital, I survived it. If I'd have been anywhere else, if I'd have gone back to bed, I'd have died in my sleep.
But the good news is, Duncan, you're here.
Yeah,
you're on GB News, and I need your help now.
Okay.
It's a great story you've told me. We have something on the show called Wokey of the Week, where we...
You have got to be kidding me. Oh, great. Cool story about nearly dying, mate. But I'm glad you're still with us because you can help me with Wokey of the Week. Textbook stuff from Anderson here.
We look at the most woke people or woke organisations, and you're going to help me judge this. So the first one we've got is the NHS.
The man's just told you a story of going to the hospital, being treated for 2 strokes, successfully making it out the other side, all thanks to the NHS. And now you expect him to make them Wokey of the Week.
It loses 26,000 working hours to its staff attending woke events, as waiting lists soar to a record 7.4 million. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's an absolute scandal.
The 7.4 million waiting lists is certainly a scandal, yes. This is the deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, moaning about lengthy waiting lists, like it's the fault of the health service itself, and not the government in charge.
The next one we've got is the Archbishop of York. He tells the General Synod that our Father has patriarchal connotations. The Lord Prayer opening may be problematic, says the Archbishop. What a load of nonsense that is. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, it's like me. I could have got in the choir.
Would
you let me in?
I don't know.
Eh?
The NHS, obviously, staff attending woke events. We've got another one. Number 3 is James O'Brien, LBC presenter. He's been on again this week, having a go at me and my friends in Parliament. He's a bit of a journalistic nuisance. He gets...
In case you've not been following, this is the 3rd time in 4 weeks James O'Brien has been nominated for Wokey of the Week. He won the inaugural Wokey of the Week trophy, but since then he hasn't been able to recapture his crown. And as per usual, there's no particular reason why James O'Brien has been nominated for Wokey of the Week. Lee Anderson just doesn't like him and how he criticises the Conservative Party. Although, let's face it, it is low-hanging fruit at the moment to criticise the Conservative Party.
He's got a face like a slap, basically. He's all he does is just go on there and rants and raves.
Talking through it as well,
Yeah.
I think, with that.
So, I mean, James always makes an appearance on Wokey of the Week, bless him. And so, is what we're going to have this week, Duncan? Is it the NHS for sending or for wasting 26,000 working hours on Wokey events? Is it the Archbishop of York for talking about the word Our Father in the Lord's Prayer? Or is it going to be James O'Brien?
I've always been brought up Our Father.
Yes.
And I think
I think
to
you're
me,
right. Yeah, it's Our Father.
One.
Well, there you go, Duncan. This week's winner is the Archbishop of York. And here's a trophy. If you want to show that there.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well done, Archbishop. Coming.
I think Duncan is under the illusion he's taking that trophy home. It'll be very difficult to prise it from his grip. He was absolutely delighted to be handed that thing. Anyway, moving on. You know what? On second thoughts, I'm actually going to end the video there, because whilst there were some other segments I could have covered, they were just mind-numbing, including Lee Anderson interviewing Nana Okoye, and they discussed trans children and teachers indoctrinating children, and it was so bloody depressing that I can't even be bothered to inflict the depression on all of you. It was exactly as you could imagine. And Tom Skinner pulled a pint and got 9.5, so he's dethroned Vicky Michelle, for those who are keeping up. Poor Vicky Michelle. She'll be crying into her pillow tonight. I do have another episode of Lee Anderson's Real World to cover. I am behind because I've been on holiday, so expect that at some point in the week. Hopefully it's better than this one. This was an absolute shocker. I hear the ratings have already collapsed down to about 25,000 people. Imagine that. 25,000 people on a Friday night, 7 PM. This surely isn't sustainable. But anyway, whilst it is, we'll keep watching to see what drivel he comes out with next. Alright folks, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again very soon.